Hey everyone, today I'm going to talk about ego and the mind-body connection, but if you haven't done it, please go ahead and hit that subscribe and like button, and if you want to help us grow, go ahead and share what we have on your social media platforms. Alright, so I don't know if you can see that nice big hole in the ground behind me. That's the Rio Grande Gorge. It's like a miniature version of the Grand Canyon. But alright, about ego. What is ego? Ego is the person that you think that you are. It is an automated, problem-solving computer, essentially, inside of your head, and it's the source of all suffering. It's also known as persona, and it likes to hang on to a lot of negative things, right? So to understand that, you really have to go a little bit deeper on it. And the ego is almost always negative, and the reason why is because it's an evolutionary trait designed to keep you alive. Let's think about this a little differently. So imagine two cavemen walking through the woods. Mr. Positive Caveman, Mr. Negative Caveman. Mr. Positive Caveman looks up on the side of a hill and he sees a cave. And out in front of the cave are a bunch of big paw prints and bones. And he says, "Hey, let's go check out that cave up there." Mr. Negative Caveman says, "Are you crazy? If we go up there, something's going to kill us and eat us." Mr. Positive Caveman is like, "You're always so negative. I'm going to go check it out anyways." Well, if Mr. Positive Caveman is wrong, he's dead. If Mr. Negative Caveman is wrong, he's lost absolutely nothing. He still has his life. And he may not have gained anything, but he's still kept his life. So the negative traits that we have developed over time are designed to keep us alive. It's like looking down a dark alley and saying, "Oh, hell no, I'm not walking down there." That's what it's designed to do, all right? It's what allowed us to figure out how to create fire or build buildings or catch food, grow crops, all sorts of things. That's what it's designed for. The problem is we don't really have any problems anymore. We don't have to hunt, we don't have to fish, we don't have to figure out how to survive in wintertime, right? We don't have any problems. And that's a problem to the ego. All right, so what it starts to do is it starts creating problems. And it does this by creating scenarios. So has somebody ever said something to you that irritated you and you ended up dwelling on it for a few hours or even days? And during this time you have an imaginary argument with that person, like you're imagining what you're going to say to them and how it's going to go. Do you know how crazy that sounds? If we talk to somebody who's not there outside of ourselves, we call that schizophrenia. If we do it inside of ourselves, we call it normal. And this is what happens to 99% of the world at any given time. They're constantly living their heads, living through scenarios, worrying about the past, worrying about the future, and they're doing it compulsively. And then when you actually go and talk to that person to maybe get it settled, the conversation never goes exactly the way you think it does, right? That's what ego does. The problem is ego is so intertwined in your life that it goes way deeper than that. It affects everything that you do. It affects how you treat other people. It affects what you think about other people. It shapes your reality. And a lot of that is based off of information that may or may not even be true. To understand what is true and what is not true, you have to think about what you have directly experienced, okay? If you burn your hand, you know what that feels like, right? But try and describe color to somebody who is born blind. And if you think about it, literally everything you think you know is information that was passed to you from somebody else. Like whether or not it's history, your family culture, your social culture, your country culture, racial culture, etc. Right? This is information. The reason why people do things a certain way is because they were told to without actually understanding the why, right? So unless you directly experience anything, you don't really know anything. Okay, that's how that works. When you compare that to how you view the world, you'll realize that the only reason why you have this belief or that belief, why you think this is right or that is wrong, is simply because somebody else told you it was. And we trusted them because we've been conditioned to trust people of authority, such as parents and teachers. All right, now to understand how you suffer, you have to understand what the ego does within your body, what's called the mind-body connection. All right, so think about it like this. If you are watching a scary movie and you're getting into it, your mind really gets into it, your adrenaline level goes up, your hormone levels go up, your stress hormones, and even though you know it's not real, you still jump when something jumps out on the screen. Dogs and cats will look at you like, what's wrong with you? Because they're not sucked into the drama of what's going on the television screen. Your mind is sucked into that drama. Well, it's the same thing that happens whenever you think about something from the past that's traumatic, or you think about what somebody said to you that angers you or whatever. Your mind is sitting there compulsively thinking about something, trying to figure out a way to resolve it if it can be resolved, and your body is releasing these stress chemicals. And you do this all your life, right? So from the time that you were a kid, once you got to a certain age and you started getting this conditioning of society to be a certain way, that's when you really started to suffer. That's when all these problems started to come in, where you think about something, you feel bad, and it creates all these other problems. So what can you do about it? What do you do with this mind that is constantly running away? Well, you need to understand it, right? It is not your friend. It is not there to really help you in the ways that you need it to help you. It is simply this impulsive thinking thing that acts like one of the evil or wicked stepsisters of Cinderella, or another way to think about it would be like an evil Siri inside your head. Okay, it is like this AI that you can't get rid of, an evil parasitic twin inside you, this voice that's going on. That voice is not you. If you want to understand like what enlightenment is, or if that's a path you choose to walk, all right, you have to get to the point where you realize things like, I'm not my body and I'm not my mind, and understand that deeply. If you think that the inner voice is you, try and not have a thought for about 5 minutes and see how long it takes before the compulsive thinking kicks in. And you're allowing it to rule your life. You're allowing it to dictate how you feel. And that how you feel begins to dictate how you treat other people or how you look at the world. All right? And so you have to begin to pay attention to your mind and then start to rewire it to not be that way, right? So that you're in control and not this inner voice. And it will fight you. It will absolutely fight you tooth and nail until you get a firm enough foothold inside of your own head to be able to regain control. So that's what ego is, right? If you've ever read any of my articles about suffering, it describes it in there pretty much the same way, all right? This is the first step of figuring out how to stop suffering. So keep logging in, keep checking to see more videos, and I'm going to go through the rest of what has to be done in order to stop suffering.